Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here once again with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, it's the start of a new era, mate. It's exciting. We've had the Emery press. People on Twitter can relax. We've had content. And now, mate, we're, 2 days out from the first game under Unai Emery. Before we get into all that, mate, how are you doing?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I do apologise for dragging you out of bed for a 9 a.m.
It's all
recording.
good.
I'm off to Birmingham this weekend. Back in Brum. Going to see Kasabian tonight.
Oh, wow. Love that.
At the arena. So I'm excited for that. Seeing a few friends and then back for the game and everything like that. Just got Wrexham promoted on Football Manager. So we just did a FA Trophy and Vanarama National double. The Welsh boys are in
It's
League
my
Two.
manager.
It's all coming at Millhouse, mate. So yeah, life is good, mate. You know when football managers go in your way that things are well. And looking forward to a good weekend, capped up by a Villa win this weekend.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's the optimism that I think we're all feeling at the moment. Unai finally gave his press, his media interview. There's the Manchester United press conference at 1:30, I think, this afternoon, being live streamed on the greatest streaming service ever known to man. Now I add Villa TV. Absolutely dog shit. Genuinely, you couldn't have made a worse streaming service, Villa. Sort it out. But it's really exciting, mate. It's the dawn of a new era. I've got the transcript up here, kindly written up by the folks at Birmingham Mail. John Towley, shout out to John. John's a real one. What I will say, Birmingham Mail, sort your fucking website out. 2 rants this morning. Villa TV, Birmingham Mail. I can barely even read this without a million ads popping up. I understand that's how you guys make money, but you guys there needs to be like something fixed on this website, man, to make it somewhat legible. But Nate, I've got the transcript up, mate. I'm so happy to be here and share with you this new project with you. The Premier League is a top league in Europe, and a big challenge for me to be here at Aston Villa is because I want to create history. It's not my return to the Premier League. It's because it's the right club and the right project. That final line for me is what really excited me last night, mate, when I was listening to that, because, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not going to pretend like he's saying stuff that we haven't heard before. You know, it's all from the same hymn sheet, right? As Gerrard, as Smith, from every manager, right? They all come out, they all have the things to say. Whenever we sign a player as well, it's, you know, big club, great fans, check. Holte end. There's always a list of things that players go through so as they can instantly get our approval from the fans. But it's the sincerity and the excitement that I genuinely saw from him, and the fact that we know for a fact this guy is reveling in the opportunity to come back and prove himself. And I know he says it's not about him or his return to the Premier League, but there has to be an aspect of that, because otherwise I don't think he comes back to the Premier League after he was hounded out, realistically, Dan, wasn't he? But it's so good to hear that, you know, from what he was saying with the conversations with Nassef. Obviously, he says, I didn't know Nassef, but he started speaking about his passion for football and his passion for me as a coach, how I can help to show him my professional idea and passion. It was the key with those conversations with him. We were really big to convince and trust in this way. It's going to be difficult, but I'm excited. And, you know, he speaks about Nassef essentially saying, listen, the job is yours. There was no, oh, you know, would you be interested, blah. He rung him up. He said, listen, you're going to be the next manager of Aston Villa Football Club, should you choose to accept. And I think the fact that it didn't even take that much to convince, mate, that's really exciting for us as fans.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think he's such an interesting character. I think, you know, the appointment, I was quite glad to see how well it was received by a lot of Villa fans. And I think as the content has been fed out, I think more and more people have gotten excited. I mean, look, like, if we're being honest, he's not the most charismatic of managers. You know, he's not the most suave or the best dressed, but what he does is his track record is amazing, and to see him speak about Villa in those terms is really exciting. I think we also saw a little bit of Matty Cash speaking to Sky, and he spoke about his first training session and everything like that. And like you do get a sense that this is quite a big moment for us, and it was really interesting to see Nassef put himself as the face of all this. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how that sort of transpires as we go through the season, depending on how things go. But yeah, there's been known and Christian Perslow. This has been Nassef telling us, this is my guy, this is my appointment. Here's me sealing the deal. It'd be really interesting to know when that photo was taken, wouldn't it? That one of Nassef and Unai. There's two things that interest me about that photo. I want to know who the reflection is in the window, because you can see the guy taking the photo. There's a part of me that loves to think that Wes Edens is on photo duty. But yeah, it's great.
Seth putting his bollocks on the table.
Yeah,
you're taking this one, Wes.
It really is. It really is. It's this is my guy. This is my appointment. And the way that Unai speaks about the club is obviously great. And you're right, mate. In these intros, these sort of first club interviews are very much a copy and paste job as far as managers are concerned. But no, I think there is he won't admit it, but of course there's a huge part of him that wants to come back to the Premier League and prove himself. Of course there's unfinished business. I think Villa he's better suited. If you look at his track record, obviously it seems mad to say this considering I think he won 5 trophies at PSG or whatever. But he's better suited to this level of club, to this kind of project. Like if you look at the trophies he's won at Villarreal, at Sevilla, at Valencia, those kind of jobs, this is the sort of level where he fits in better. And I do feel like, I sort of got why he was sacked from his Arsenal tenure, but like I was looking at some of the stats and like the team that he was working with, and like it's not even that bad. It's not even
70 points. He had Mustafi, he had Nacho Monreal,
and Mustafi and Socrates as his centre backs. Like it was like when they were like really relying on guys like Maitland-Niles in midfield and stuff like that. When Mesut Ozil was like, that was a whole mess. And the points tally he racked up in his final season, Arsenal have still not bettered since. Everything has turned out pretty rosy for Mikel Arteta, but obviously you imagine he'll beat that this season. But it's taken them 5 years to finally better what Unai did. So yeah, mate, I think of course there's a little bit of vengeance in this for him, and I think that we're putting a little bit of fire in his belly, and yeah, hopefully we can reap the benefits of that, mate.
I hope so, mate. I hope so. It's interesting hearing how he spoke about the squad as well, mate. My first step is to help them achieve their best performance during each training, each match, and being together. Very candid about the squad underperforming, and he said as well that they're significantly less confident than they should be. So, he's got a big job on his hands to kind of build up the confidence. And I think there's certain players that I look at, and we'd heard that, like in the summer, mate, that Ollie didn't have the best relationship with Gerrard, and it kind of got brushed away pretty quickly. I think it may have been someone like Villamole or one of them bullshit in the no accounts that kind of put this piece out about the bad relationship. But looking at Ollie on the pitch, and I've criticised him for the longest time on the podcast, feeling like he's not reaching the heights that we know he's capable of. And it all starts to add up then, and hopefully, with an arm around the shoulder and a new gaffer in who can, reinstill some of that confidence, which I think is so important. Hopefully, we can see the better, the better side of players like Ollie, who I do generally think is a massive confidence player. But mate, it's Manchester United. I'm sure you watched the game last night. They've got to go through a qualifying round in the Europa League, which is just absolutely hilarious. They were so desperate to score another goal to top the group. They put Harry Maguire up front, which I felt was quite apt, mate, on a night where Gerard Piqué announced his retirement. That's a proper Barcelona tactic, isn't it? They used to do that all the time if they were losing, shove Piqué up front and long ball it. But Manchester United actually looked okay last night. I
Yeah.
think it's fair to say. And we know Eric Ten Hag is, all cylinders are firing. Manchester United are looking very good. It's going to be hard to kind of preview Villa for this one, so we're going to do our best to preview Manchester United and how specifically we can hopefully get the better out of them. But since he's come in, mate, there has been such an emphasis on playing out from the back. This Cruyffian football. There is a massive onus on the centre halves to instigate the attack. Not only centre halves but the defenders. You look at the pass completion rates. Of the top 6 players, 5 of them are defenders, including fullbacks as well. Victor Lindelof topping that with 95%. Harry Maguire, surprisingly, 87.4%. Lisandro Martinez, 86.2%. Varane, 83.5%. Luke Shaw, 83%. The route to stopping a team that plays out from the back is to just press like you've never pressed before, mate. You've got to be so relentless, so aggressive. And it's going to... I don't think Unai will have that instilled in 3 days. And I'm not suggesting that he should. But I'm really interested to see how we approach this one, mate. Obviously, it's a home game as well, so you would expect naturally to have more possession. No Bruno Fernandes in this game either, but this is a game that however we line up, however we set up, Villa have to start on the front foot, or if we're fine conceding possession at home, which is something that, if we're being honest, mate, is something Emery has done and isn't afraid to do during his time at Villarreal especially, then the lads have just... I really hope they're up for this, and I think they will be.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the things we preface, and I wanted to get this out in the air on the pod, is that Emery will walk before he runs with this squad. It will be a case of, don't expect Villa to be playing fully fledged, expansive, open, attacking football in the first few months of his tenure. It will literally be about win, be solid, and get us higher at the table, which I think all of us unanimously as Villa fans would take. We need to face reality and look at our league position and say, yeah, let's be a little bit more secure in our league position before we start opening up and playing some more expansive football. And I think at this point, we would all trade a few more points on the board for some attacking performances. 100%. And I think there's a lot of parallels between the projects that Unai and Eric Ten Hag have done. And I want to give Eric Ten Hag some praise because, you and I both said before, when he joined Manchester United, the one thing he needed to do not was to buy 7 players and overhaul Man United. It was to improve the players that were already there. And I think he's done a fantastic job of that. I really do. I think, the way that Marcus Rashford looked like a lost cause this season, and all of a sudden he's coming into this game as United's one of United's informed guys. Diogo Dalot has been fantastic this season. The way that he's managed to cater the squad to David De Gea's lack of ability to play out with his feet. And the way that he's structured them so that they can play through the thirds without De Gea having to be too involved. I think it's been really impressive, and Ten Hag's done a good job. And I think that's what Emery needs to do at Villa. Obviously, United, there's already been a few transfer rumours, and we've already seen the links come out. But I think his biggest job is to get a tune out the guys that are already here, because we've been saying for the longest time this squad is better than what the league shows, and it's time for a good manager to prove that. And January is still a little while away, and I was surprised if we did anything. I'm expecting players to come in, but we're not going to overhaul the squad in January. So Emery's biggest job is to get these guys that are already here, that we know are well and truly capable, to perform at a good level. And it's interesting how it's United at home again, isn't it? Because this was very much like the Optimism game last season. Stevie was new. It was Coutinho's first game, and Villa Park was like a fever pitch for the whole game. Obviously, Coutinho came on, and I think it was an own goal in the end, but I'm going to say he scored. And it feels the same again, doesn't it? It feels the same going into this fixture. There's that same sense of excitement. We've only actually lost United once in our last 4 games against them. I think we've drawn the last 2. Obviously, we've got that cup header, and we'll be able to give a little bit more insight into the Villa side once we've seen them play at the weekend. But you're right in saying that Villa are still I would like to have known a little bit more, but we're still a little bit of an unknown quantity. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. You know, United will be coming to this not knowing what the hell to expect. I think we will see that 4-2-3-1 again. But yeah, I think we have that upper hand in terms of the fact that there is no previous games to go off. There's no data. I think every single player will be playing slightly differently to how they were under Gerrard. So even the ones that, you know, you feel were pretty nailed on, there's still going to be a surprise in there. I'm really excited to see his lineup. Yeah, and I do think that gives us an upper hand, mate.
I think as well, given the fact he's got 3 games. There's 3 games until the World Cups. The break starts. I can't believe we're like what? We're 2 weeks exactly away from the first World Cup game kicking off, Dan. That's pretty scary to think. And there's 3 games in this period of time that we've got to play. I think it's beneficial that we've got Manchester United in the cup as well. And to go back to the point you made earlier about Emery being like and disappointment just making sense for him, I completely agree, mate. Because when you, sorry, I just got a text from my manager that really distracted me. When that's really thrown me. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to edit this out. When you've come to the club and when you've had your reputation, you know, completely dragged in the way that the English press do, and it is like our press is so toxic. Like regardless of whether it's football, regardless of whether it's politics, whatever it is, the English press is notorious for just being absolute scumbags. And we have this thing in England, and especially in football, we build people and players and managers up so ever so quickly, and we get them to a point where there is only one way they can go. And it got to that with Unai, I feel. You know, he kind of came in, it was after Wenger. He was almost destined to fail anyway. Look at David Moyes after following Sir Alex Ferguson, right? And fundamentally, I think Unai clearly is one of, you know, I'd probably place him top 20 when it comes to elite coaches in world football. I think that's probably fair. There is probably, I couldn't name you 19 coaches who are better than him, to be honest, but I reckon they're probably, you know, he's firmly within that conversation. I think it's fair to say.
100%.
And I think there's just something about the narrative and the way he's been torn down. And although he hasn't openly said it, he clearly wants that. He's clearly chasing redemption, right? And you know, if Pep Guardiola was to get sacked from Manchester City tomorrow, and he was to be appointed the Manchester City manager and win it all at Manchester City, it's meaningless, right? It's Manchester City. He's got all the funds. He's got all the players. Everything is put in place. Whereas, you know, he comes to a Villa. If he can, and I've seen people say, "Oh, he's tanked in the league," which is true to a certain extent. But like Villa would take 7th place finishes consistently with a cup run every season, on the premise that every 4 years we may win a cup. We would absolutely take that. That would be a resounding success for Villa, and it would surely be considered a triumph for Unai when you consider how he was labelled and how he was hounded out of the club.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And he's got a good record against Manchester United as well. I think the only games he lost as Villarreal manager in European competition, he played like 20 plus games in European competition. He only ever lost to Manchester United and Liverpool. And obviously, even in one of those games against Manchester United, he beat them in the Europa League final. He's got a good record in his first game as well. He's only lost his first game as a manager on 2 occasions. That is 8 previous clubs. Obviously, it was his birthday yesterday as well, wasn't it? So shout out to you.
Unai.
Happy birthday, my friend. He's got a decent record against United. I think he's only lost twice to them as a manager in his career. And yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. And I think I said it's one of those where even if we can come out with any kind of result, even if it's a draw, I think the mood around Villa Park would just be fantastic. I really do. because we would 100% lost this game under Gerrard, 100%. United are a good team, We have to respect what Ten Hag is doing. This won't be an easy game, but if we can just come away with something, it would be amazing. It would give us such a confidence boost going to Old Trafford. And oh man, yeah, it's interesting. Like it's. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that World Cup comes when it does. That we've only got those 3 games. There's a part of me that thinks like, if this result goes well and we get a result, and as I said, that atmosphere and that excitement builds, you kind of want the games to just keep coming thick and fast and to build that momentum. But then on the other side, like, you actually probably get more time in the, like, because of Villa's poor form, it's a bit of a blessing in disguise that not many of our guys will go to the World Cup. I'm kind of hoping, like, quite selfishly, that guys like Booba, like, just coming off his injury, can stay at Bodymore and make sure that rehab is like properly completed. But obviously, it would also be amazing to see him at the World Cup. So it's a bit of a win-win situation, really. But yeah, because not many guys would be going, we've got a real chance to get some valuable hours in on the training ground. And so, yeah, it asked me in a few games whether I think this World Cup comes at a good or a bad time for the Villa, but we just got to maximise the opportunities until then, mate. And yeah, I hope that starts on Sunday.
Look at Dean Smith though, mate. He was saved by COVID. His season was undoubtedly saved by COVID, and stripping it back to basics and it was well documented, the meetings that he had with the players and the detail that he and the coaching staff went in to really deliver some home truths, I think, to a lot of these players, and to get them playing in a way that they needed to play to keep Villa in the league. And I'm getting the same kind of vibe, because it felt like we were sleepwalking in one direction, mate. And I'm hoping that this appointment will. I don't think we'll get relegated. I'm going to touch wood, but something has to give. And obviously, as well, something to consider, mate. There's the Peter Whittingham charity game that's happening. There's going to be, I was listening to Pep and Arteta's pressers the other day. They've said they're going to be organising fixtures, so I would imagine that we will be doing the same, and we'll be getting involved with as many clubs just to play these games. We've seen the games against Brentford and stuff that we've played behind closed doors, Arsenal, Manchester United, in recent times. So I imagine Unai or somebody will be on the blower getting some games on the go. It'd be nice if they could be streamed as well. I don't know if they do that, just because tactics and obviously the World Cup, so there may not be that enough interest for Villa to warrant that. But I mean, saying that, even if they did, it'd go on Villa TV and we'd barely be able to watch it anyway. So don't bother, Villa, unless you're going to do it on live stream on YouTube. But no, Unai's never lost against Manchester United, mate. He's never lost. 1-1, drawn 2. So hopefully we can take solace in that record. And I'm just so excited. But Dan, I think it's fair to say you've got places to be, people to see. So I think we should wrap this podcast up here. I hope you have a great time back in Birmingham
tonight.
Thank you. Kasabian are brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. You're going to have. Who are you going with?
We're taking a few of the gang. Obviously, Scott, who the most loyal Villa fans will, Villa fans of the Villa, I should say, will remember. He helped out. Yeah, we're going down with him. Another one of the, unfortunately, Elliot, who hasn't appeared on the podcast, is still out in Berlin, so he won't be there. But us down to Kasabian. So yeah, it will be a blast, mate. It will be a blast. So this podcast will be out bright and breezy for you to listen to on your lunch hour to their work. So yeah, cheers to you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Absolutely. If you guys aren't aware, we are on Instagram and TikTok, at VillaPod on Instagram, at Heart of the Holte on TikTok. We've had a really good reception to starting these accounts. We're getting clips up from this podcast. Some of them are going out on Twitter as well. Some of them are going out as YouTube shorts. Keep interacting with the shorts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. The links will be in the description. And as well, if you're not already, make sure you enter our fantasy league. The winner gets a shirt at the end of the season. And we've gained so many subscribers, man. We're so close to 6,000 subscribers. I think we can do this before the end of the year. We've had a mad month. October on record has been one of the best months we've had for the channel. So, maybe we do another shirt giveaway at 6,000 subscribers. If anybody is watching and not subscribed, make sure you do so. And yeah, up the Villa.